Once a vision of future living, the Kingswood estate, built in 1950, was one of the first council estates of its kind. But time has taken its toll on these blocks, and 70 years later, many of them are beginning to look their age. There is now widespread...
Right, so this is in South London, Dulwich Wood. I mean, Dulwich is in South London, so just assuming this is in South London. I mean, that council block looks like a council block in South London anyway, so I'm assuming this is in Dulwich. Dulwich is next to Peckham in Southwark.
Damp and toxic black mould in many of these 750 homes. Families here say that the landlord has left them living in slum-like Dickensian conditions.
The repairs were not repairs, and nobody seemed to pick up on it.
Not just cracks in the walls, but a deeper, more threatening problem caused by damp.
Some say it's already taken a major toll on their health.
About 15 or whatever years, me and my wife has lived in the kitchen because of the mould. Yeah.
Oh! Nah, but you see all of that bullshit. When I see that, yeah, why the fuck are you not painting over it? Like, yeah, the mould is coming through, but I'll be combating and fighting against it or whatever. You know? I'm not just going to sit and see a dirty black wall. Like...
For 78-year-old Brian Joyce, breathing is a task that makes everyday life a challenge. It's something he now connects directly to the poisonous air inside his home.
Yeah, when you got damp in the air and that, it can fuck up your lungs after a while. I think you can develop asthma, even if you've never had asthma before. I think you can develop asthma if you've got too much damp and condensation in the air and that. So yeah, it can mess up your lungs still. I heard that before. Okay, so I take it this was made in, well, you got 2019 there, and then you got 2020, so whatever. 2020, yeah. So 2 years old still.
Where the mould became so widespread, he and his wife Rita had no choice but to spend most of their waking hours here in the kitchen.
We've got mould in the cupboards. The mould's everywhere now, basically.
Cupboards, you know.
They raised a family in this home. Lifelong happy memories tainted by mould and damp.
This is our bedroom, or was our bedroom.
Letters of complaint to Southwark Council, which Brian says, for years, simply fell on deaf ears.
Year after year, the environmental health officer and ignored.
And here on the Kingswood estate, he's not the only one.
I've told my son not to come in here because he's got asthma problem. Really angry. One, you pay rent, you pay your council tax, expecting if there's a problem, it will be dealt with, and then...
Marta, I think God the meeting. I'm bad at pronouncing. I think God did to me. I'm bad at pronouncing names, but I don't know. Maybe it's me, or maybe that's what I'm fucked up surname, boy. I think God did me. Anyway,
it's not being dealt
with.
Long. Disappointed that nobody's listening. They're not doing anything about it.
There are dozens of mothers and fathers just like Marta here, worried about the effect the mould is having on their children's health. Brian and his wife both impacted by the air inside. Rita's breathlessness meant she had to use a wheelchair.
It just got worse and worse.
Brian's desperation led him to invite 3 separate GPs to examine the conditions inside his home. 3 visits and accompanying letters in 2015, 2017 and early last year.
This is written from your doctor to the council 4 years ago, and nothing has changed.
No.
Complaints written by doctors to the council calling for action to be taken immediately.
I've lived here for 5 years now, and for the last 4 years we've been having a problem with the fumes.
400 yards down the road is George, forced to call in the experts to prove to his landlord, the council, that conditions inside his home are damaging his children's health. He's chosen to remain anonymous for fear of reprisals.
It's affecting my family quite a lot.
This family have more than just the damp to contend with. George says he, his wife and their 2 small children live in the same block as a drug dealer, that the fumes from a makeshift lab enter their home.
Our child in here slept.
You know, when I work, obviously, man, work in this Northampton borough, and I meet some of the tenants, and they tell me about their neighbours and that, and I just think to myself, and some of the tenants I've met, they might be bad people, or they might not come across as bad people. They might even come across as cool people, but I know they're idiots. And some of the tenants that I meet, whether they come across cool or not, I know they're fucking idiots. And I just think to myself, if me and you was neighbours, there would be a war going on this landing within the first 2-3 days. Like, I even know, you get me, certain people I know and that, they tell me about their neighbours and that, and I think to myself, yeah, I don't want to say you get me, but there will be some trouble. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. I'm not having no fucking, I mean, if a man's going to trap whatever, innit, yeah, but blood, I don't want no fucking fumes. Like, I don't know what the fuck my man's doing next door, whipping up some coke, turning it into crack and all them things there, and the fumes are coming into my yard. Are you mad? Blood.
Here for a week, and every night.
Peel that back.
This family have more than just the damp to contend with. George says he, his wife and their 2 small children live in the same block as a drug dealer, that the fumes from a makeshift lab enter their home.
Our child in here slept here for a week, and every night she would cough, vomit, and sneeze throughout the night. We packed up everything, took our child into the bedroom where we all sleep.
You all sleep in here?
We all sleep in there.
Packed into one small room at night, George says his complaints have been dismissed.
They told me that it's just in my head, it's killing me. I go to sleep with this mask all night. If I don't, then in the morning, I'll be very ill. Chest pains, I'll be feeling like drunk, dizzy, and feeling
that's been
drunk.
For 4 years?
For 4 years. 4 years. No one can stand this. It wears you down. It's affected our life completely.
In 2018, George paid for a survey by an independent air quality expert who discovered the family was breathing air that could pose serious health problems. Roger Martin is the man who carried out that test 2 years ago.
I'm astonished that 2 years later that nothing seems to have been done. The problem, as identified by us, hasn't been explored further. To see something of this nature appear in somebody's flat whilst everybody's asleep at 3:30 in the morning is certainly extremely unusual.
And dangerous.
Potentially very dangerous. It could easily be associated with some illicit laboratory activities.
Southwark Council says to date no evidence of wrongdoing has been found. However, we remain in contact with the resident and will continue to work with them to investigate any further issues and to take the appropriate action if evidence of drug-related activity is found.
Blood, he needs to go next door and fucking knock him out, blood. Like, what the fuck, fam? Do you think, yeah, I will be in my yard, blood, and my pitney is getting high and drunk or whatever off the fumes of some local crackhead next door, and I'm just going to sit inside and do nothing? See, you know what? Now I understand why girls want to be with a bad man sometimes, you know. Because certain men like this who are pussy, they would have a problem with their neighbours and drug smells coming into their yard and sit and not do nothing about it. Or the most they're going to do is move the child from this room to another. No, I'm going next door to fuck him up, blood. That's it. That is it. The fuck, blood? You think, what? Are you mad? You must be going mad. Make my mum phone me and say, Jelani, there's some drug dealers next door and the weed smell is going into little Nene's room and that. Yeah? And Nene's waking up in the middle of the night, high off weed. Listen, man's flying down there. Are you mad? Are you fucking mad, blood? Get upon my nerves, blood. I'm telling you, some of these idiots out here, yeah, boy, you don't want me as your neighbor. Boy, you're gonna be, you got, if you don't know how to fight, you're gonna learn, fam. You're gonna learn how to fight, fam. I'm telling you, on my mum's life.
Southwark has the largest proportion of social housing across all London boroughs, around 35,000 council homes to look after. The 750 here on the Kingswood estate, on the southern outskirts of Southwark, are a drop in the ocean for one of the country's biggest local authorities.
In the living room here.
Back at Brian's, he and his wife, like George, commissioned an expert to carry out a test. The results were shocking.
Very high level of mould colonies present.
Yeah.
This confirms the area sample is heavily contaminated.
Medical experts say mould spores in the volumes discovered in Brian's home cause serious respiratory infections. Prolonged exposure is particularly harmful.
The Southwark government has obviously got the intelligence to know that mould causes respiratory problems and just ignored it basically.
Brian's wife was eventually admitted to hospital. Whilst there, the consultant wrote to the council imploring it to take action.
She has a mould problem in the house which the council have not been able to deal with due to the lack of public funding, and her health needs having restrictive lung disease.
Rita's breathing problems never improved, and sadly 18 months ago she died.
Wow.
Do you think if this mould and damp hadn't been around for so long, your wife
Would still be alive. I believe it. I really believe it. I said to him, I want the cause of my wife's death investigated.
But this is what happens when you're fucking poor. This is what happens when you don't make sacrifice and work hard and save and manage your finances as a young person. You end up in some shitty flat where unfortunately your wife dies because of a respiratory or whatever. It could be linked to her death. Do you think if this guy had 5-6 properties and that, a lot of cash in the bank, you get me different investments and all these different businesses and that, you think he'll be in this position? This is what happens when you don't fucking work, fam. You end up a broke peasant living on a breadline, sitting in a freezing cold yard. Man worried about the electric bill and that. I phoned up a tenant today. I phoned up a tenant in this morning. I phoned him, I said, yeah, it's the electrician. I'm looking to come to your house within the next 30, 40 minutes or whatever to do the test. Are you aware of the test? He said, yeah, I'm aware of the test. I said to him, all right, then cool. But he said, there's going to be a little issue. I said, what? He said, by the time you get there might not be any electric. My electric is running out. I said, well, it's not too much of a problem and that. You can just go into emergency mode and that. He's like, nah, it's already on emergency mode. And I was like, well, look, I can do a test with no power in it, yeah? So don't worry about it if the electric cuts off or whatever in it. He said, no, I am worried about it. I ain't going to have no electric in that. I'm thinking to myself, like, what the fuck? Like, why are you telling me this for? Do you think I give a fuck about your problems, blood? The man said to me, I'm going to be worried that my electric is going to cut off because I don't get paid till tomorrow. I'm thinking to myself, blood, you don't have £5 or £10 to your name, fam, to put 5 or 10 blood clot pound on your electric meter. The man is already in emergency mode. So I don't know if emergency mode gives you £5 or £10 or even 15, maybe even 20, because I'm sure they've increased it now. But you're in emergency mode and you don't even have 10, 15, 20 pounds to put on your electric meter to stop the people them in your yard from being in a complete blackout. This is bullshit. This guy was young as well, because when I was walking around the yard, I could see pictures of him and his missus and that. And I think to myself, and they got, well, the woman said that she's got 7 kids. Now, 4 of them might be from a previous relationship and 3 of them might be his. Or all 7 could be his. But regardless, you can be busting nuts up in women and that, but you can't afford to top up your electric meter. The epitome of a fucking waste, man. Bullshit, blood. Fucking bullshit, man. This is what happens when you don't work hard, man. And you just live every day as it comes. You're going to suffer. Like our man said, there's pain in becoming important and there's pain in not becoming important. If you do not make sacrifice when you're when you're in your young age and that, you're going to suffer when you're an old person. I can promise you. I can guarantee you. Remember me. Remember me. Remember my videos. When you're an old person sitting in a freezing cold yard.
In response, Southwark Council has said we've been offering Mr. Joyce a full package of works to address all the problems in his flat for some time, as well as the removal of all mould. Any suggestion that we have not is not true. Unfortunately, to date, he's declined to give the council access. We have set aside £32 million for our next round of major improvements to the Kingswood estate. As is normal for an estate of its age, a range of work is now needed to maintain the buildings, including to address damp issues. We had planned to start last year, but residents asked us to look again at whether the external wall insulation our surveyors have recommended is right for the estate. In response, we've brought in an independent expert to look at this with residents.
I've got her up there to talk to her, you know. No, she's not there. I'm not going off my head or anything, but what do you say? When the main thing in life goes out of your life, where are you, you know?
He moved in his prime, and for 40 years has been blighted by damp and mould.
One sec.
What do you say? When the main thing in life goes out of your life, where are you, you know?
He moved in his prime, and for 40 years has...
He fucked about. He moved in his prime, and for 40 years he fucked about. This is what I'm saying, blood. This is what I'm saying, fam. When you're young, you're fit and you're healthy, and you're at your full potential, you got a maximum amount of energy, you should be investing that energy, investing that time into making something of yourself. But no, for 40 years, man's just going to coast along through life, work at some shitty little hardware store for 20 years, and think to himself, if the conversation ever came up, or if he ever thought about university and that, why do I need to go university? Why do I need a degree? I've got a job. I've got a roof over my head. There's food in the fridge. Why do I need a degree? Why do I need a high-paying job? I'm doing all right. Doing all right ain't good enough. Doing all right is good enough that day, but it ain't good enough for next week, next month, next year, next decade, next 3-4 decades and that. This is why these people suffer. This is why you got a man who are even still young as well. I don't know what the guy was. Probably about the guy I was talking about earlier, who are 36, 40 years old, talking about, I'm on emergency mode. I've only got a few pounds left on the electric meter, and I ain't got no money until tomorrow to put money on the electric meter. Like, how pathetic is that, blood? You ain't got £10 to your name, blood, to put on your electric meter, fam. These are the same idiots that will find money for cigarettes and beer, though, yeah?
Been blighted by damp and mould. Now towards the end of his life, Brian feels enormously let down by his landlord.
Nah, don't blame your landlord, fam. Don't blame no other man for your circumstances and that. See, this is our problem as people. We don't take accountability. It's always someone else's fault. No, you got a duty of care to look after your rascal self as a man. We have this entitled mentality, even in everyday life. Even dumb shit like, I'll be driving my car and I'll be approaching a zebra crossing, and the people them at the zebra crossing are not waiting for me to stop, you know. They're just stepping out onto the zebra crossing. Nah, I don't do that bullshit. Me personally, if I'm on a zebra crossing and I'm a pedestrian, if I see a car coming, if I step out onto the road, that means that I've got enough time to get across this zebra crossing without this person licking me down. I'm not relying on the next man to brake to save my life, yeah? You don't know, that guy might not see you. He might be distracted, might be on his phone and that. I don't have entitlement to think, oh, I'll just step out on a zebra crossing and yeah, he is going to stop. No, I got a duty of care to myself. I'm not relying on the next man. Yeah, a man might be a maniac. A man might want to run down black people that day. So if I step out on a zebra crossing and there's a car approaching, I've got enough time. Even if this guy decides to put his foot down on the gas and speed up, I've got enough time to get out of the way. I'm not just stepping out, hoping, relying on the next man to fucking brake to save my rascal life. I'm not entitled like that. This is our problem as human beings. We want to blame and rely on the next man to save our life, or rely on the next man to house us and put us in a good position. No, you put yourself in a rascal good position. Even dumb stuff like with the job that I've got. If I'm in a yard, yeah, imagine, yeah, I'm in a house and it's just adults that live in this house, yeah, no children and that, because children is a different subject, a different matter. If I work in a house and I leave, imagine electric socket with wires sticking out. Every adult human being knows that electrics is dangerous. You know, if I left a socket with electric wires hanging out and someone touched it and got electric shock and died, you know I'll be in trouble. But really and truly, I shouldn't really be in trouble, you know, You as an adult, you as an adult human being should know that you should not touch a dangerous electric socket with wires hanging out. But we live in a country, we live in an era, we live in a mindset where, oh, it's someone else's fault. No, it's not someone else's fault for you touching electrics that are dangerous. Now, if it's children, that's different. Children walk up to electric, they don't know any better. Children are stupid. Children actually have to learn the hard way. You could tell a child, don't touch that iron, it will burn you. And they'll go and fucking touch that iron and burn them. That's different. Children are different. Adults should be able to know, don't touch that electric socket with the wires hanging out and that it's going to kill you and that. But we live in a country, we live in an era where people can see something that's dangerous, still touch it and hurt themselves, but someone else would be in trouble. You know, sometimes people make mistakes. Sometimes people are driving down the road and they don't see that pedestrian at the zebra crossing. But that dumb pedestrian will still just step out because I'm entitled and get lit the fuck down. I don't have that mentality, man. I've got a duty of care to myself. I've got a duty of care to look after myself. I don't rely on no one else to look after me. I'm a Ross clot, blood clot, man.
The only question for many who live inside these homes is what comes next.
Right, that's it. Video done. Stay wise. Done now.